thank you so much for being here, and thank you to the young people in the back doing the workouts. I really appreciate that. Anybody who wants to join the workout with our young people in the back, please feel free. That's why we're at the park today, everybody. Well, I just want to thank you all for being here. Today's meeting is about our composting hub. It's just one of the features of the meeting today, but it's really about sustainability and what the city of Pasadena is doing and how we could all pitch in and be better for our environment and our neighborhoods. Because at the end of the day, we want to leave a better environment for the young people that are behind us working out. And so today, our first presentation will be from Ursula Smith, and Ursula's the Water and Power Department. So don't run. Plus that ramp looks a little rickety, so you know. I think you have to hold both mics.
Okay, thank you. If I was younger, I'd hop up there. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today, and it's so nice to see everyone, and I see a lot of familiar faces, which is great. I'm the Water Conservation Programs Manager for Pasadena Water and Power, and I have a brief presentation today on water conservation, and then I'd love to open it up for questions and answers. So when we look at water conservation, it's a very important part of our water resource portfolio, our water supply portfolio. And often not everyone thinks of it as that, because for our water supply here in Pasadena, we have three main sources, right? We have water that we import from the State Water Project, we have water coming from the Colorado River, and then we have water from our local aquifer. But water conservation is actually a very important part of our water resources. And you think, well, how can that be? Like with conservation, it doesn't get imported, it doesn't get pumped. But what it does is it stretches our water supplies. So we look at conservation as part of the portfolio, and that it is an opportunity. The more we conserve, the less we need to pump and the less we need to import. So it's a critical part of the water resources portfolio. So we talk a lot about water conservation measures, but what are those? So water conservation measures can be a myriad of things. They can be activities, they can be technologies, it can be laws and policies that are passed. All those together constitute water conservation measures. So for example, some of the activities that we all can participate in is using less water when we shower, for example, right? Maybe not always flushing the toilet. We've all heard the saying, when it's yellow, let it mellow. We can also do things like retrofit our toilets to more efficient toilets. We can change those out. We can turn off our sprinklers when it rains. We can put in a water controller. We can retrofit our overhead irrigation sprays to drip systems. Those are all actions that we can take, activities that we can do. Another important water conservation measure is technology. So right now, if you go out on the open market and buy a toilet, you're not going to find any toilets that are out there that do 3 gallons per flush. Some of you might still have those in your household, but current California efficiency standards make it a requirement that any toilet that's sold is 1.28 gallons per flush or less. We have efficiency standards that also affect our shower heads, our faucets, our aerators. So I encourage you, when you go home today, to take an inventory of your appliances and of your fixtures and make sure that you have the most water efficient ones installed. That is one of the biggest things you can do for reducing indoor water use, is to make sure that you have high efficiency fixtures and appliances. So take a look at your toilet. Is it 1.28 or less? If it's over 1.28, consider replacing it. There are great rebates available right now. Look at your shower head. Is your shower head 1.8 gallons per minute or less? If it's not, it's time to replace it. Your aerators, faucet aerators, the same thing, 1.8 gallons per minute or less. And then your clothes washer, we offer up to a $300 rebate for your clothes washers. Old clothes washers, if your clothes washer is more than 20 years old, you're probably using about 40 gallons per cycle. If you replace your clothes washer with a high efficiency one, you're going to use 20 gallons per cycle. The high efficiency ones go down to 15 or even 12 gallons per cycle. Replacing your clothes washer is one of the biggest things you can do to save water. And with a $300 rebate, that covers pretty much half the cost, or over half the cost for some models. You're saying not today? Yeah, I know inflation has brought up costs quite a bit, but it's still a nice amount that can help towards the cost of the clothes washer. And when you do go online to apply for the rebates, just make sure you look at all the models. There's a list of models, so you can ensure that the model that you do purchase is the one that is eligible for the rebate. So we've talked about the indoor use efficiency related to replacing fixtures and appliances, but there's also a behavioral component, and we don't want to overlook that, right? So every person living in your household, the behavioral component is just to take showers that are shorter, and to make sure to turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth, to make sure to only do full loads in your dishwasher and clothes washer. And we're, I think, all very familiar with these kind of measures and actions that we can all take. A lot of this is directly impacted by new legislation that's requiring us to reduce our indoor water use. Right? So currently, we have a legislation that says you can only use 55 gallons per capita daily up till 2025. And that's going to drop down to 50 gallons per capita daily. And that'll drop down even lower. There's legislation right now that's being considered that'll drop it into the 45 gallons per capita daily range. And so the more we can save indoors by replacing our inefficient fixtures with the highest efficiency, the better positioned we'll be as a whole, as a city, to meet those new mandates. And then checking for leaks, another big behavioral thing you can do. So for toilets, has anyone here ever put food dye tablet into the back of the toilet bowl? Yes, that's great. Okay, so you put a food dye tablet in the back of your toilet bowl, you wait a few moments, and then you look in the bowl and see if it's changed color. If you put a red dye tablet in the back and your bowl turns red, then you know your flapper needs to be replaced and you have a leak in your toilet. And we actually distribute the toilet leak tabs for you to use and to help find those leaks for your toilet. I also encourage you, if you think you might have a leak in your irrigation system or anywhere else in the house, turn off all your water in your home and check your water meter. Go to your water meter, open the box, and look and see if the dial is turning. That's the quickest way that you can check to see if you have a leak on your system. And even small leaks can cost you a lot over time. Sure, so yeah, for your outdoor, if you think you might have a leak on your system, then you want to check your water meter box. So you want to go out to your water meter box, you want to go ahead and open it, and there's a little dial in there. And if that's rotating, even while you have everything off, then you most likely have a leak. Yeah, if it's rotating, if it's turning. And they're great, we have videos online on our PWP webpage, and also if you Google how to check your water meter to see if you have a leak, there's some great tutorials online on how to do that. A lot of leaks have been detected by that simple act of just turning off the water in your home and checking your water meter. So we've talked about indoor use, but the highest percentage of water use is outdoor, over 60% in Pasadena. And outdoors is where you can make the greatest impact to reduce water use, especially if you have a landscape or a garden. How many here have removed their turf? Can I have a show of hands? Wow, okay, we have a lot of active water conservation folks. That's wonderful, okay. That's what. So currently, there is a rebate at $2 per square foot for turf conversions. And now, if you haven't done your backyard or your side yard yet, Metropolitan Water District is allowing you to do more than one. So if you've already converted your front yard and you would like to reapply for a rebate and it's been over a year, you can apply for your backyard. And then you can wait another year and apply for your side yard. So before it used to be just front lawns, and the rebates, only front lawns were eligible for that, but they've changed that you can do one per year. So for all of those that have already actively done it for one area of your yard, I would recommend to apply again because the rebate is up to $10,000 for 5,000 square feet. One of the great resources that we provide at Water and Power for landscape retrofits is we have design guides online, and we have templates that you can use to help you design your new landscape. We also offer some great resources on enhancing your soil health as you're thinking of retrofitting your landscape, which is a great tie-in to what Gabe's going to be talking about with composting. So the place to start with a landscape retrofit, and you here are you've already converted, so you know this, is to enhance your soil health. And that helps retain moisture, it helps retain water. We highly encourage regular applications of mulch. And with the new compost programs, you can apply compost and also enhance your soil health with that. We also have a program in Pasadena Water and Power called the Hugel program. Who here has heard about Hugels? Okay, great. So you've probably helped maybe build some. I think some of you volunteered at our Hugel building workshop at Sheldon, at the Coniston Garden at the Sheldon Reservoir. And we're currently building Hugels in different locations throughout the city. We're holding Hugel building workshops. There's even one this evening at 7 o'clock. We're going to be doing a water cooler series on Hugel building, and we have several Hugel workshops that are going to be offered in June. So if you haven't heard about Hugels, it's a permaculture technique, and you use felled tree limbs and branches as a base, and you have a depression in the ground. You dig down about 2 feet, 1.5 to 2 feet, and you can do different shapes, teardrop shapes, rectangular shapes, and you put the felled tree logs and the branches in, and you cover it with cardboard, with leaves, with organic matter, and you start layering it, and you build a hill. And that's what Hugel means in German, little hill. And then you can plant directly on that hill. And it's pretty amazing because the biomass that you've used, the tree logs and the branches, they actually slowly decompose and add great organic matter to the soil. But not only do they do that, they draw moisture from the air through capillary action and keep that area moist so that very little to no irrigation is needed for your landscape if you have a Hugel in place. And Hugels work really well with composting because you can actually add in organic material into the Hugel as you're building it. And it's a great way to allow that to decompose directly in your landscape. And if you want to hear more about Hugels or learn more about them, we have a great webpage all about Hugels and how to build them. And we are going to be doing workshops in June, so come to our webpage and check on the workshops and events. And we'd love to teach you more about how to do this great innovative technique in your landscape to save water. So, a lot of you might be asking, are we still in a drought? What do we think? Yes. Even though there have been some easing of restrictions, and we've seen this, what we're calling climate whiplash, with these incredible rains and winter storms coming, we know that California has seen successions of droughts reoccurring over and over again. So we currently in Pasadena have a water shortage level plan. We're at a level 2, as everyone is aware, and that is 2 days a week watering right now in the summer. And based on whether you're odd or even addresses, you have your days. But one of the things that we also are looking at is always to build long-term conservation. So we have these restrictions in place on watering to help ease the impacts of the drought, but we also want to make sure that over longer term, going into the next 5 years, into the next decade, that all of our landscapes can survive the hotter temperatures that climate change is bringing. And that's where your landscape conversions using permaculture techniques, taking out your turf, putting in natives, drought-tolerant plants, using compost, using mulch, those all will help in building climate resilience for your landscapes. Like I said, we have a lot of resources available on our webpage. I encourage you to go on the webpage. It's pwpweb.com/savewater. And you can find on there all of our rebates, incentives, direct install. If you haven't taken advantage yet, we have a home improvement program. If you're a residential homeowner, you can have a survey, energy and water use survey done at your home and have a direct install of efficiency devices up to $4,000 at no cost. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please visit our table. I'm joined here by PWP staff and they can tell you more about that. I encourage you, if you haven't participated in that program yet, to take advantage and participate in that direct install program. So I'll open it up for questions right now. That is a good question, and I know that's one that's come up before in the past. I don't think we've had it yet at a place where, and there haven't been any agencies that I'm aware of yet that have put moratoriums on them. When we do reach a level 4, which is the severest water shortage level we do have that in the ordinance, that there's no filling of pools at that level. Yeah, and we do. We have a very active water waste enforcement program, and my team manages that. So we do get calls in, and we get calls in from residents, and even our staff members are out there patrolling. And then we do our best to contact the customer right away and let them know. Sometimes the challenge can be when they have a landscaper that only comes every couple weeks, just to make sure there might be a little bit of a delay until they respond and are able to turn their system off. Yeah, and there is a lot being done on water infrastructure and to build up infrastructure, to build up the ability to hold more water when we receive it. Even the new turf removal requirements require to have either a rain capture device or a berm or a swale. And the state also, I think local governments sometimes feel this way, that the state has passed some pretty restrictions, tight restrictions, and we're finding ways to comply with that. And we're so pleased that everyone in Pasadena has stepped up. I mean, it's incredible. We have an incredibly active, really committed, conservation-minded resident populace here, and it shows. We've saved so much water, and during the drought, those savings were remarkable and really helped us stretch our water supplies. Yes, we do. We still plant trees. Yes. So the question was whether the city still plants trees on city easements, which are the parkways, which is the area between the sidewalk and the street, and the city does. And there is a master street plan, tree planting plan, and there's trees allocated for that purpose, and they absolutely do. And you can request a tree to be planted on your parkway through the Citizen Service Center. And they will come and they will plant a tree and they will water it through the establishment period. They were planted. If there's a replacement tree required, they will plant it. But if you see that there's a need for a tree and you don't have one, I would encourage you to request one. I was just at another open house a few months ago, and a resident talked about how great that process went, and they got a beautiful new tree. And it took a couple of months, the whole process, but you'll get a tree in there. Well, so there is ongoing treatment of that and cleanup being done. We just actually had a tour of our Monk Hill treatment facility as part of Water Awareness Month a week ago, and we are able to bring more wells online as a result of the success of the cleanup. And I'd be happy to get you more information when I step off. I can give you my card and I can provide you with more detail on that. Yeah, that would be for our water supply engineer, and I can get him to reach out to you. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, thank you for asking that. We have a direct install for laundry to landscape gray water system. So gray water is a great component of water reuse. And water reuse is another component of conservation, because if you reuse the water, right, then you are saving potable water. We do a direct install for laundry to landscape gray water systems at no cost for any single family residential customer. So if you would like a laundry to landscape gray water system where you're using the water from your wash cycle and it's being directed out to your trees, shrubs, and plants, we are able to do that for you. We're able to install a system. We've had successfully over 200 systems installed in the city of Pasadena, and everyone's been extremely pleased with how those work. And you're saving quite a bit of potable water because you're able to irrigate directly from the water that your washing machine uses. And to sign up for that, we have a gray water program icon tile right on our webpage. You can apply online and you'll have an assessment scheduled within a few weeks. You get guidelines on what kind of soap is good to use. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, before you leave. Sure. So the direct install program, it is vitally important that everybody who owns a home takes advantage of it. It is a great program. You get a Nest thermostat. They'll come out and put in new timers for your sprinklers. They'll also put in monitors for the dampness of your sprinklers.
The weather-based controllers.
The weather-based controllers. Thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't know the name of that.
Too,
and toilets. They'll replace toilets. They will come out and do all this stuff. Every program, every initiative, after we have put it in place as a city council member, I want to say, okay, well, let's see how this works. So then I asked my wife, hey, you should apply for this. And they come out, and when they come out, they're extremely professional. They go through everything. They give us Nest monitors. Also, we had as you mentioned, the damp
The weather-based
weather-based controller. I didn't know the name of it. Smart controller. So I definitely think that you should take advantage of that. Also, one thing that Ursula didn't mention in her presentation, that 70% of our water use is outside. So the more water that we're able to, I would say, not reuse or reduce right from the outside, the better. So if you have turf and you want to keep your green grass, then think about other grasses that don't use as much water. At my home, I use St. Augustine. I'm not advocating for a type of grass right now, but I'm just saying, just think about little things that you can do to save on the water. So Ursula, we want to thank you so much for being here. Please do not hesitate to go over to the Water and Power booth. And if you have any questions that you weren't able to get answered today, I have Kushan Bell in the back. Ms. Bell, if you could just raise your hand. And I also have Eric, who's an intern with our office. If you could raise your hand, Eric. And they will be fielding questions and we will get you answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At this time, we are going to bring up Gabe Silva, and Gabe is going to talk to us about composting. He is the environmental management manager for the city of Pasadena. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Gabriel Silva. I'm an environmental programs manager for the Public Works Resource Recovery and Recycling Division. Thank you all for coming. Back in 2016, Governor Brown signed SB 1383. It's the Short-Lived Climate Pollutant Reduction Act. And it requires that jurisdictions throughout the state of California reduce organics going into the landfill by 50% by 2020 and 75% by 2024. The city provides 4 different programs or options for reducing the amount of organics going to the landfill. The first is we're asking residents to bag their food waste and add it to their yard waste container. That way we use one container, one truck to pick up 2 different commodities. The yard waste is sent to Oxnard where it's composted and turned into a product that can be used for agricultural purposes. And the food waste is sent to Pointed Hills where it's ground up and turned into a bioslurry, and then it's taken to a wastewater treatment facility, existing infrastructure, and it is digested by a digester and it turns it into biogas and biosolids. That program started very slow. It took us a couple of months to get the first 4 or 5 tons of material, but now we're recycling 1 ton of food waste every day. We're collecting between 32 and 36 tons every month of food waste through our curbside recycling program. Another option we provide residents is backyard composters. These are kind of barrel-shaped composters. We sell them to the public at cost. They cost us $56 per container. Or if you attend one of our workshops, you get it for free. We distribute anywhere between 200 to 300 composters per year. Another option are these community compost hubs. We are building these composters. They're about 12 feet wide, 4 feet tall, and 4 feet deep, and we're placing them in city parks. We've built 4 so far. We have one at Allendale, McDonald, Victory, and Villa Park. We have 4 in place and they're operating really well. The next 2 we'd like to place is in District 1. District 1 will be the only district that has 2 community composters. One here next to Kid Space, about 50 yards west of the entrance, and one at La Pintoresca Park between the library and Los Robles. I'm going to go over how these composters work. Thank you. What is compost? Compost is nutrient-rich material that's made up of organic material that's broken down through biological fungi processes. It's made up of humus material that is very good for the soil. It adds nutrients, it retains moisture, and it aerates the soil. Next slide, please.
Vanna White. No, here you go.
When you collect compost at home, one method is by collecting it in a pail. We recommend that you keep it visible because you don't want to forget about it under a cupboard or something. You'll get odors and flies and things of that sort. So one method is using a pail like this. We line it with either newspaper or a plastic bag that we already generate. Now, we generate a lot of plastic bags when we go buy produce or bread, carrots, potatoes. We generate it anyway, so why not reuse them in collecting our compost? And if you don't want to take it out every day, put it in your freezer. In the freezer, it'll store well, and when it's time to go out to the community compost hub, you take it and just add it to it. Next slide, please. So when we compost, we want to add equal parts brown material. Brown material are leaves, unbleached paper, branches, wood chips, and we want to add green material, which is nitrogen-rich material made up of grass clippings, fruits, vegetables, scraps, coffee grounds, and then we add water. What we don't want to add is stuff that we don't want in our compost. We don't want anything that has diseased plants. We don't want to add diseased plants. We don't want to add any pet waste because we don't want that type of material in our food because we'll put this material in our gardens eventually. Next slide, please. So to participate in the community compost hub, you have to attend a workshop. We lock this thing. You'll get the combination if you attend our workshop. And the first thing you do, step one, is make sure that it's compostable. So through this workshop, you'll learn what can and cannot go into the composter. Second, when you'll add it to the ad bin, and in that ad bin there's a scale and a logbook. We want you to weigh it first because we want to collect metrics on how well the composter is working. Next, you will add it to the ad bin. You'll layer it into an even layer and then cover it with brown material, and the brown material is located in a bin just next to the composter. So we're creating a sort of lasagna of green and brown material, and that will create a good environment for composting. Next slide, please. So what can be composted? Fruits and vegetables, coffee grounds, tea bags that are not silk, eggshells, green leaves, grass trimmings, old flowers. Those are the green materials. And the brown materials consist of mulch, wood chips, dead leaves, sawdust, twigs, newspaper, unbleached towels. And what we don't want in our composter are plastic bags or even biodegradable bags, because this environment isn't, it's like compostable flatware, tableware, plastics. This environment doesn't get hot enough to break that type of material down. We don't want any cat litter, any pet waste. We don't want to attract any rodents, so we don't want any meats or dairy in our community composter. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, we want to layer it. So we would add branches and twigs at the bottom to help get air into the composter, dead leaves. Then we would like a layer of green material like grass clippings. Then always cover the green material with brown material so you keep flies down, odors down. So then we would cover it with shredded paper or sawdust, mulch. And then we would add, next time we'd add fruits and vegetables, food scraps, coffee grounds, but always remembering to cover it with the brown material that's available on site. Next slide, please. For the community composter, city staff will be adding water and turning the material. We're adding a volunteer component to our website to have folks that participate to actually come and help turn the material. Our goal is that these community composters will be self-sufficient, self-run by volunteers over time. But to get it going, city staff are visiting the composters once a week for a couple hours, and it only takes about an hour to 2 hours to maintain our compost hubs. Yes, sir? Not if you turn it, keep it aerated. If you keep it stagnant, then it'll reduce the material and you'll generate methane. But if you add air, water, and turn it over, you won't be generating methane. Next slide, please. So this is a photo of the composter located at McDonald's Park. The first stage, where your ad bin, where you'll only add material to that one bin, the ad bin, and you'll layer your brown and green material. You'll have microorganisms start breaking down the material, mostly bacteria, and will reach a temperature between 65 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Once we fill that first bin up, we'll move the material over to the cooking bin, the second bin located in the middle. And in that second stage, you'll have even more bacterial activities happening. And the temperature will go even higher, between 130 to 155 degrees. And we want to maintain that temperature for at least 3 days. By maintaining the temperature over 131 degrees Fahrenheit, we'll kill all the seeds, harmful bacteria, viruses in the compost. So it's ideal to get that temperature over 131 degrees Fahrenheit. And that stage will last between 2 to 3 weeks. Then once the first 2 bins fill, then we'll move everything over one more stage, and we'll have the ad bin vacant. The stuff that was in the cooking will go to curing, and that'll cure for 6 to 8 weeks, and that'll allow the compost to cool down, to finish breaking down, and then we'll have finished compost. As the material breaks down, we'll see steam forming. We might even get some odors forming, and we need to adjust the mixture in order to maintain the optimal conditions. Let's see, what do we have next? If we start running into problems like excessive flies or odors, we'd want to add more brown material, less food material. We'd cut back on. We'd add more grass if we start getting too many flies and things of that sort. Aerating will help keep the odors from forming, and it's also, we don't want to overwater it, so we want to keep it damp like a sponge. So you just need to keep the right balance. To keep rodents out, we don't want to have meat or dairy. We built these composters to be rodent resistant, so all of the sides have a 1/4 inch wire mesh. Even the bottom is lined with the wire mesh, so things can grow, dig underneath to get into the composter. And that basically completes my presentation.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You can use the compost. The way you use it or get access to it is by signing up to be a member of the Community Compost Hub. We have a sign-in sheet here we'd like your phone number and email address, and we send regular updates to the members of our community compost hub. Once you sign up, you'll get a combination. We want to control what goes into the composter, so you'll get the access code and be able to participate. And once the compost is ready, we'll send an email to the group, because what we've learned is when the compost is finished, we set it out. We let our members know first, so they have first dibs for it. And in less than a week, all the compost disappears. Folks want this material for their gardens. Yes, sir. Our outreach, we put in bill inserts. We've had articles in Pasadena Focus. We do social media blasts. We need to do a better job at getting to everyone. We've hired a marketing firm to help us develop a campaign, and the campaign will be rolling out in the next few weeks. We have 27,000 customers, so we'll be using several methods to get the word out. We need to blanket the city. We'll be advertising it on bus shelters, on billboards. We're doing a lot of social media. No, put it in your yard waste container. We collect it. Yes, we do. We collect it together. We take it to Shoal Canyon, where we use Shoal Canyon as a transfer station. We spread the material out, and we have laborers that go through and pull the food waste out. And we're recycling a ton, 2,000 pounds of material every day. So it started out as a trickle, and now it is flowing. A lot of people are doing it. Vermiculture is a good way of composting. We don't offer verma composters for sale. Right. I think smartgardening.com, that's run by the county. You can purchase a vermicomposter through them. That's a good option. We want, the first option is to compost at home. We want people to, backyard compost, and to reduce the amount of food waste that they generate. By seeing what we put in our green waste bin, that'll educate us in generating less excess food. Even people are using the bio bags. Those are even strong enough to not rip. We don't want people to use bio bags because they cost money. We want you to reuse the stuff that you already generated at home. Right. It's going to get composted anyway, because if it rips, it mixes in with the yard waste, and that goes to the composter. So it either gets digested if it stays in the bag, and if it breaks, it just goes with the yard waste to a composter and agreement. It's just a contaminant for the yard waste, but it gets composted. Those, they don't break down. It's very fibrous material.
So if you could repeat that so that everybody hears.
Yeah, palm fronds, we're still asking you to put it in the trash can, because they're very difficult to compost, and that fibrous material just gets clogged in all the gears and stuff, because this, everything gets processed, and the palm fronds are just really tough to break down. So that should still go into the trash. Yes. Oranges should be, you could bag it. It could be digested, or, a lot of that is just considered like tree material. Yes, it could be bagged. Yes. Right. I see the bagging your food waste and adding to your yard waste container is a solution for the masses. Not everybody wants to compost, because composting takes time, but bagging it and adding it to your yard waste container takes very little effort, and it shows. We're getting big numbers. We just received a big shipment of composters. If you're talking about the backyard composters, we have those every month, and because of the backlog and getting materials. It's taken us a while to get them, but we just received a shipment of 250 composters, so we're gonna start up again. This sort of workshop that we have for our community compost hubs, we have these monthly. As we're opening up a community composter once a month, and we'll have another one next month. You know, the city buys renewable natural gas to fuel all its vehicles. It just gets added to the system, so it's having an impact. It's more sustainable, but that's happening. And the solids that are formed through the digester are composted. And so that's, you know, the gases get used as green energy and the solids are used to compost.
And just if you could repeat that. So the question was, so the methane that is produced, the gas that is produced from the composting that you do at home actually turns back into gas for our refuge trucks, with our trash trucks, to actually drive around the city. Recently, I requested at Municipal Services Committee, how much gas are we actually getting back? So hopefully we'll have an answer within the next 6 or 7 months to see how much gas we're actually getting back, or how much diversion there is. So to answer your question, yes, that's still working. Yeah. Everything is eventual. Right?
Yeah. You know, the city of Pasadena is a leader in this area. In fact, Cal Recycle is having a summit tomorrow with all the jurisdictions in Southern California, and they've asked the city of Pasadena to share our successes here. So, you know, we could do more, but we're doing a pretty good job. You know, we're one of the leaders in this area. Our target is 3% of our total organics that we generate. You know, 3% of our yard waste. That's a really successful program. We're about halfway there. Right. Vermicomposting is a great way to compost our food waste. We're currently doing it just English and Spanish. If you go to our website, we have this training video. We've done a training video basically going over this presentation in both English and Spanish. They're right side by side, so you can go through this on our website, and all of our literature is in English and Spanish. They're open to everyone. They're open to folks that live in apartments, in single-family residents. Anybody in the community can participate. You just need to attend a workshop and commit to volunteering 1 hour a year. The greenest thing to do is to compost at home in a backyard composter or in this community compost hub. A good way of composting is by doing the curbside program. Our preference is that you do it at home, keep it local. But if you can't, don't have time, then put it in your yard waste container and we'll take care of it for you. No, it gets trucked to the Puente Hills Material Recovery Facility. It gets fed into a machine called a DOTA machine. It's kind of like a giant garbage disposal. It grinds everything up and turns it into like a liquid smoothie, like a bio smoothie. And then that gets trucked to the joint wastewater pollution plant in Carson, and it gets stored on site, and they slowly feed it into the digester. They don't want to create some kind of imbalance, so they slowly feed it in, and it gets broken down. You know what? It's very difficult to permit a industrial composting, or especially food waste composting facility. There hasn't been one permitted in the South Coast Air Quality Management District in over 20 years. That's why these facilities are being built out in Victorville, San Bernardino, Kern County. It's just the air quality management district won't. It's almost impossible to do that. Yes, meat and dairy can go into the bag because that goes to that digester that gets ground up. Yes. Restaurants, the city has to provide organics recycling to businesses and residents. We're leaning on our franchise haulers to do that, the private haulers. They have their own system in place. We have 22 haulers in the city. Of those 22, only 7 have organics recycling capability. And what they do is they collect it separate. Most of them collect it separately and either digest it or send it to Victorville, like the Athens facility, or to Lamont, where it gets composted out there.
Perfect. Well,
Thank you
thank you
very
so much, Gabe.
Thank you.
And one last thing to wrap up the meeting, and I want to make an introduction of our new Water and Power Director. Come on. Sydney Jackson. You want to? You got it, man. There you go. Cool. You have to come closer to the mic. But Sydney's been on for now.
January,
since January, 4 months.
Yes.
And how you loving Pasadena?
Wonderful. I love this weather.
The mic as well.
I love this weather. I know for some it's cloudy, but I actually think it's wonderful. Nobody is ducking for the shade or anything like that, right? Council member, it's my pleasure to be here. So I have gotten acquainted with Councilmember Hampton, and it's been my pleasure. As the general manager of Water and Power, I am under policy direction of our governance, and our governance is the Municipal Service Committee, which is Councilmember Hampton. And I want to thank you for your work, your guidance. Governance and policy directions matter. I'm responsible for day-to-day operations of the utility, but our governance, our direction of the utility is framed by our policymakers, and thank you, sir, for what you do. Let's see, what else can I speak to? So we've had some progressions at the utility. We just signed a major renewable contract for geothermal, for those of you that are interested in such a thing. It is a significant investment in our renewable future. It's a significant investment of our renewable future.
You have to use both.
We have to use both, okay.
Yeah. So that one's for the camera and this one is for the speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the training earlier today. So it's a significant investment in our renewable future. And again, our governance, our oversight has really helped direct us and lead us down that path. And so thank you for that. I don't want to take a lot of your time. It's my pleasure. Councilmember Hampton has one saying that I am very fond of. I am blessed and honored to be here, which is something he's coined. And actually, I am blessed and honored to be here. So thank you.
Well, with that being said, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I like to try to keep these community meetings to an hour. I know that you all have families to get back to and other things to do at home, and even composting but I am honored and blessed to be here and to be with you. I love each and every one of you. If there is anything that I can do to be of service, do not hesitate to reach out or give us a phone call. My phone number is area code 626-744-4444. You actually probably don't even need to write that down. It's just 7 and 4s till it rings. So enjoy the rest of your night. God bless you guys, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.